People talk about investing in trendy new industries like cannabis, even the cryptocurrency market. Why not space, though? Chad Anderson is the CEO of Space Angels, an angel investment firm that enables its members to invest in space companies. And he joins us now with a little bit more on the case for investing in space. Chad, thanks for joining us. First of all, how did you get into the business of investing in space-related companies?
We've been doing this now for 6 years, so really before it was cool, I think. It's been a wild ride. Back then, there wasn't a whole lot of entrepreneurial activity happening in space, but today it's a much different story. Seems like every top VC has a space company in their portfolio, and they're looking to do more.
Is that because of, Jeff Bezos with his Blue Origin, which is not new, he's been working on that a long time, and Elon Musk has been working on SpaceX for a long time, but now we're sort of seeing actual results, more tangible developments?
Yeah. It certainly helps.
Yeah.
All the milestones that the industry has made. 2018 was a significant year for the industry. We called it the year of small launch. We saw over $1 billion go into this segment. We saw the first commercial small rockets taking small satellites to orbit. These things really help. Amazon, Jeff Bezos's commitment to invest $1 billion a year is certainly playing into this. AWS partnering with Lockheed to build a ground segment to address the market also is another positive sign.
So you've made about 30 investments, as I understand it. What is a space investment? Is it a company that's just trying to get to space? Is it the infrastructure around it, somebody who supplies to a SpaceX? What's an example of making a space investment?
Yeah, and it's all of the above. So we've invested across all the subsectors in the industry. So we've made investments in launch companies, and satellite companies, and now we are well into the satellite value chain. So we're going from gathering an unprecedented amount of new data, bringing that down to the ground, making it useful, putting it on a platform, making it accessible to developers to come up with all of the ideas for using this data about our planet in new ways and new business applications.
So truthfully, when I think about space investing, I think about, eccentric billionaires with money to burn and are okay with it being sort of a money pit. I don't think about the returns. I mean, we talked about pot sector and crypto, the crypto space, into the intro. I mean, you've seen those things kind of shoot up in the near term. That strikes me as not going to be the case with space, right? This is still a sector that requires so much investment. I mean, what's your time horizon?
Our time horizon is very similar to any traditional VC fund. We actually operate a traditional VC fund that's 10 years, and we think we can get returns in that timeline. Going back to your previous point, it was some eccentric billionaires and people with money that really took the risk, could take the risk on themselves, which opened up the market. So in 2009, SpaceX really brought the barriers to entry down by reducing the cost of access to space, but also bringing transparency in their pricing. This allowed this wave of entrepreneurship and innovation that we've seen since 2009. We've gone from a dozen privately funded companies globally to 400 plus today, $16 billion going to those companies. So the real capital is flowing in on the heels of that.
So you mentioned cannabis. One of the big questions as we watch that sector evolve was, will big banks get behind it? You talked about the money that's moving into this industry. One interesting development this week was Morgan Stanley, for example, one of the biggest names on Wall Street, held a conference all around space investing. That's the kind of thing they do when there is a sector that they are invested in through research, through financing, through IPOs. That was almost seen as sort of a legitimacy stamp on the future investment in space. And so a lot of companies obviously were presenting and sharing their information. I think for the average investor, though, kind of getting a sense of all the players that are in the space market, still a little early. It's not like we have like space ETFs that people can look and learn about these different companies. So what's the best way to learn about space-related businesses?
Just to look at it, the development of the sector as a whole, right? So in 2009, the barriers to entry come crashing down. And we see this wave of entrepreneurship and innovation, like I mentioned. So if you think about where we are in this cycle, I mean, we're 8 years into this. Venture is based on 10-year funds. They're looking for returns in 5 to 7 years. So we're right about at that moment, that inflection point in the value chain when things really start to come together. I was at that Morgan Stanley conference, and it was great. They really were focused on more of the larger companies, but they, on the other side of Morgan Stanley, on the private equity side, they've actually co-invested with us on one of our small launch companies. So again, in terms of milestones and bringing real capital to this sector, we're getting involved at the seed stage. We led Vector's seed round. Sequoia came in and led the A, and Morgan Stanley came in and participated in their B round. And so the big names are coming.
What are the future business applications that could grow out of, space now being a possible place to do business? So obviously tourism is one, but increased satellite activity and mapping activity. Just help us think about, okay, so we're going to space, we get that, but what are the businesses that come out of that?
Certainly. So a good analogy is GPS, I think. So it started off as a government program, and it was provided for free. And at the time, there was conferences happening where people were asking, this is a great new technology, but how are people going to use it? And people were struggling to communicate all of the ways in which people were going to use GPS. And of course, today, we see it everywhere. We carry it around with us wherever we go, and we use it, and we wouldn't be able to find where we're going. It runs our financial markets.
Wouldn't have Uber without it.
Exactly. We wouldn't have financial transactions. It enables the global marketplace, right? And with observation data of the planet, we're in a similar inflection point as well.
And what's happening here in Canada? Because I know you're quite familiar with the investing landscape here in Canada.
Yeah, so I was actually in Toronto because I was participating in the Creative Destruction Lab at the University of Toronto yesterday. There's a lot of really interesting things going on in Canada. We have 3 companies in our portfolio that are Canadian, and we're looking to do more. I have to say this CDL program is fantastic.
What does that mean?
Creative Destruction Lab.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so this is what keeps me coming up every 8 weeks or so. Fantastic program. They're attracting a number of Canadian startups, but also globally, people are flying in for this program.
Is it kind of like those AI labs that they now have in Canada to try to further our talent advantage in artificial intelligence?
Yeah, well, they have a number of streams at the CDL. AI is one of them. Space is one of them. And the space program is headed by Chris Hadfield. But they're doing
him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But lots of interesting things coming out of that, and we're looking to. I think I've got 3 or 4 that I'm looking to cut a check into at the end of the program.
All right. Interesting stuff. Chad, thanks for sharing the story.
Thank you.